Hey everybody, great to be back again live. It was a long and I'll say dangerous weekend because I decided to get really productive this weekend. Like there's just been a bunch of stuff at the office that was really driving me crazy. And a couple things that were like, I don't know. Realistically, probably I shouldn't have been the one doing it. Like I talked a while back about getting the right person for the job. And there's a lot of advice. I know Cody Sanchez has said this. Seen a bunch of other people say this on as sort of business influencers. When you run a small business and you're CEO, you should be spending your time doing CEO stuff, right? So should be wheeling and dealing, doing things that are going to return, $10,000, not something that you can hire someone else to do, right? Like that's kind of the idea in small businesses is you got to use yourself. If you're the owner CEO, you need to be spending your time on your time because it's a very limited resource that you don't have much of. Be spending that on very high leverage things. Don't do stuff that you can hire out, or don't do stuff that you're not the best person for. And I had a big long conversation about that, but every now and then I just get tired of waiting on things, right? Like getting the right person is expensive. Sometimes whatever, like the staff's already busy doing other stuff and I just want to get some stuff done. And so on Saturday I had this I had like three objectives because a part of it is the space itself has just gotten out of control. I don't know if you've ever like bought a space for a business or you're moved into a new space in the business. You don't know exactly where everything's going to go when you first move in, right? We're 6 months into this now. We got the business set up, and the front room has been kind of this catch-all. Like when you first walk in, this space that in theory could be a retail space someday. This front room just ends up filling up with stuff. And it's because there's nowhere else for stuff to go, or there ought to be stuff to go. And then in the midst of all of this, we're also getting ready to go to the Railmakers Expo, which is going to be awesome. I really hope to see you there. I'll put a link in the thing when I'm done about Railmakers Expo, but you ought to go. It'll be super fun. But one of the things we're doing is our photo booth. Now, if you've paid any attention to my social media or whatever, we do this photo booth thing where you can be on the picture of the books. So we'll take a picture, we do a little AI to scrub everything out, put you on the cover, and then we'll print you out a book cover that you can take with you that's got you on the cover of my books. Pretty fun, like and not, it's a really neat thing to do at a trade show kind of thing. So we're going to Railmakers Expo. But one of the things about that, and I was going to do a whole post on Saturday about this, but I'll explain why I didn't do a post about this in a minute. So my whole goal was to go basically tune up this armor. So we have actual physical like steel armor that you can put on, and then we'll take a picture of you and then put you on the cover of a book. It's really fun. It's cool. But it's actual steel armor. Like it's the real deal. I mean, it might not hold up like traditional armor would, but it's steel. Like it's real armor. So anyway, um the problem is when you take this to events with kids, you end up with like peanut butter hands on it, or I don't know. Anyway, it gets pretty dirty and then it will corrode and then it rusts and it's a bad deal. So, one of the things I've been meaning to do for months now is have that clear coated, like just basically clean off all the rust, clear coat it, and then that way we don't have to worry about it anymore because then it'll just wipe off. Like we don't have to worry about the real steel rusting. That, and it's something that like I've been trying to delegate, and it just hadn't happened. So I'm like, look, we're doing this event in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. This has got to get done, and this is like the only day it can get done. That if I'm going to do it, and again, it's not really a CEO thing to sit there for like 4 hours with some steel wool and some oils and uh, cleaners and do this. So, but I did that and spray paint. Like it just had to get done. And I wasn't going to make somebody come in on a Saturday and do this. So I just did it. Right. I was like, that's fine. I'll do that. And then it was like there were all these little electrical projects that needed to be done. Like the ceiling fan in the bathroom sounds like, I don't know, a jet engine that's about to explode might be the best way to sound it. Like it needed to be replaced, And then we had a light that's in where we're doing our live selling that was out, and it turns out it wasn't the lights, it was the ballast and the light fixture. And so there's some electrical need to be done. So I'm like, I'll do that. And then the other big thing that's taking up the whole space that I wanted clean, because in the end, like the lights that are out, there were problems that was messing up the front room. There was all this stuff in the front room. I was like, I'll put the shelves in we need to move the stuff out of the front room, and I'll just do this. And it's like none of that is what you might consider CEO stuff. I probably could have gotten. We've got a handyman service that's done a lot of work for us. I probably could have paid him a day rate, and everything could have been taken care of for me. But I trying to economize, and it was a Saturday, and So anyway, I start the day, and day starts out fine, other than it took way longer to scrub and get this stuff ready to paint, and then I painted it. Um, and so it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon before I get to the electrical. And I've been working for quite a while. Like I think I started at 9, maybe. Anyway, so I'm doing the electrical, and I should have known I was headed down the wrong road when I realized that the light I bought before I took the box, I realized the light I bought is about 6 inches smaller in diameter than the light that was there. So by the time I'm all done, I did get a new fan that sounds nice and airs out the bathroom, but there's this weird little hole like on the edges of it, like in the ceiling, that needs to be repaired. So fail number one of the day. But then I'm trying to fix this fluorescent light, and I put in a new ballast, and the light works, and so I'm up there trying to put in the lights. And if you've ever done fluorescent lights, there's like when you twist them, they pop, kind of thing. So I go to twist this light and pop it, and it pops faster than I'm expecting. And I bring this elbow down on the lip of the hanging light, and that's sheet metal. Not only is it sheet metal, it's super sharp sheet metal. It was not, it was, and so I cut this massive cut in my elbow. Um, and it was so sharp I didn't feel it. It wasn't until I'm feeling the blood rolling down my arm that I realized I've cut myself really bad. So now here I am. I'm in the office by myself because I was like, I wasn't gonna make people come in on the weekend to do this. Um, Nobody's there to help me, and I am bleeding profusely. Okay, so this is a bad deal for me. Now, luckily, I was using a bunch of cloths, like dishcloth kind of things, to do this work on the armor. So I happened to be sitting right there on the workbench, right next to where I was working on light. So I was able to get that to staunch the flow of blood, and found some tape and taped up my arm. Um, and got off and got the stitches and whatnot. But then it ruined the whole rest of the day. Like I don't know if you've ever had one of these like major medical incidents where you need lots of stitches and all of that, but like the adrenaline dump that happens is really bad and stressful. By the time I got to the doctor, I'm about to pass out. That was bad. And then in the end, by the time I got home, I was done. And so the whole rest of my day, the other stuff I wanted to do in the office, plus some actual like more businessy things. I had a contract we've been passing back and forth, this MOU, which is what I should have started the day with, by the way. I've got a vendor that I'm trying to give them requirements to get a bid, and then I've got this contract. And when I got to the office, I was like, well, I'll do that when I'm done with this other stuff. Now, none of that other stuff was actually terribly important. Technically, we could have still done the event without me clear coating the armor. I mean, it wasn't exactly gold plating it, but it was not the most necessary thing. And I definitely probably should have had an actual electrician contractor do the lights, just because A, I don't think they would have done the stupid thing I did and gotten cut, but B, the whole thing would have been faster and more efficient, and I could have gotten my contract stuff done. And so I have to, in reflection of this whole thing, I have to figure out, and what it boiled down to is it was just easier and felt more satisfying to do those tasks than to work through the contracting, because that is like complex legal paperwork that requires a ton of thought to do well. and I just didn't want to do it. That's what it boiled down to. Like, I just didn't want to work on it on Saturday. I'd had a long week. I was tired. I really didn't want to do that. So I kind of opted to do these other things first, thinking, yeah, at the end of the day, I'll come back around. So I say all that to say, as a CEO of my business, I'm telling on myself here that I should have stuck to doing the core thing I do for the business, which is help us make more money. Because both of these contracts would have done a lot for us had they been kind of executed. Like, we could be moving those plans forward. As it is, I got to spend sometime this week. I got to bake the time to actually do those two activities, and I got to do it at a time of day when I'm like awake and alert, like 4 a.m. but say 6 a.m. Like, I get up early in the morning anyway, so like 6 7 a.m. I need to sit down and just do that when I'm freshest, just so that I've got them done. But in the end, I'm still like nursing these stitches in my elbow, and it's just been kind of a mess like all week. It's been weird. So if you're a CEO or aspire to be a CEO, and you find yourself like passing or delaying on CEO stuff, um, to do a little later so you can do something easier, I'm just gonna say you need to eat that frog at the beginning of the day. Like, go ahead and eat the frog and go for it, because you really need to do that first. Because you may cut yourself on a ceiling light and then ruin the rest of your day. So anyway, hope that was an illustrative thing. Hope maybe a little funny. I'll talk to you later.